Howdy all, this is Carla and I'm back this time with a review for episode 7 of season 2 of Scorpion titled Crazy Train. And I have to say guys, this episode was amazing. I loved it so much. There was so much good in this episode. So many things that I've been wanting to see for such a long time finally happened in this episode. And normally initially when I saw the episode title, I was like, okay, it's going to be something in a train, right? Because they use these puns all the time. So when the episode started and we began to see what the problem was, I'm like, okay, this is very Speed-esque, I guess. It had that feel, and I like Speed, at least the first one. So I'm like, okay, I can buy this. I don't really understand the idea of, trains actually having no manual control possible activated on site. I don't know enough about trains to know that that's true, but I would assume that it's not, because why would you ever not have manual controls in there? But just the idea of the thing felt very reminiscent of Speed, and that got me excited the first time. But much like Speed, I'm like, okay, this probably will not be scientifically accurate. I'm used to that with Scorpion, but really, every episode as it starts, I find myself wishing that they would actually be scientifically accurate. They never are, so I get over it, but it's usually the way everything starts for me, so I wish that it would be. And this one, actually, I'm not a physicist, so it's not my strong suit, but it seemed, for the most part, that it was okay. The science actually held, because when you have a body of that size, that weight, moving that fast, yeah, a ton of stuff can go wrong. Now, I don't know enough about the LA subway system. Actually, at this point, I've been to LA. I had no idea there was a subway there. Honestly, I walked all over the city and never actually thought about the possibility of there being a subway there. So, I don't know. You would think that would be mentioned more often with how much people seem to complain about the traffic in that city. But, I don't know. I didn't even know, so I thought it was kind of strange that obviously the train seemed to have so much space to just run. I would say that was the thing that kind of bothered me the most, but for the most part I didn't even have any complaints about the science. Maybe I just don't know enough about physics to actually realize where the glaring errors are, but it didn't seem entirely impossible like Scorpion's plots usually are. I really love it. I am very much a proponent of Ralph being more involved with the team and with the show, and I really love just the whole theme of him learning to socialize with people the way that the Scorpion team haven't, because they're all grown up and, their mind is kind of made, but Ralph is a kid and he's still kind of malleable about it, so even if he's a genius, they're trying to help him find a way to connect. And this episode finally got him to connect with someone his age too. I love that. I just love Ralph. I love seeing him. I love that he's able to do his thing just as much as Walter would, but he still feels warm. He still feels like he wants to interact with people. He still has that desire. He hasn't just gotten completely jaded like Walter sort of has. And I love that he's involved in any capacity. I love that Paige was really freaking badass in this thing. I know that she wasn't the brains of the operation, but she took command, and she actually, got people to listen to her, and she freaking hung off the train. A train speeding at 90 miles an hour, and she's hanging off the freaking door, held by nobody, because she has to, pull the switch manually. It's not just anyone who does that. and she was the one who told Walter, you know what, I'm gonna do this because you have to focus on the computer and nobody else can do it. So it's gonna be me. She is badass. I love it when they give Paige real stuff to do, and she actually, got Walter to shut up with logic. That's all kinds of awesome, okay? Because she might not have a genius IQ, but she knows things, and she knows logic, and she knows, she has that sort of intuition that sometimes just wins arguments, and I'm really glad that they actually had her like that, and that she was the only one who was actually taking charge, because even construction dude, he wasn't, after a while he just shut up and just let Paige, direct everything. That was awesome. There were things obviously that the whole thing where Walter, they put in the oil over the tracks so that the train will slow down, and Walter barely gets out of the tracks before the train runs over him, and then there's this slow-mo shot of Walter extending his hand toward the train and seeing Paige and Paige seeing him, and I thought, that was so cheesy, but Scorpion kind of deals in cheesy, so that just made me laugh. I just kind of shake my head and go, oh, Scorpion, because it's so silly. But I really liked it, though. It made me laugh. It was fun. And other stuff like, Walter jumping onto the train. I know I've said this in the past, that it bothers me when Walter tries to be an action hero rather than a genius, because I think, it's not the whole idea that he's a nerd and he can't be strong, athletic dude. He can be, totally. It's just, I don't know. I usually don't like it when he tries to be Indiana Jones. It's like the subtitle for this episode could have been Toby's line of, suicidal scientists say what? Or suicidal genius say what? It could have been the subtitle, because it was just Walter taking a bunch of really crazy risks. But I don't know, this time I actually liked it. I didn't mind. I think it might have been just because it was Paige he was trying to save, Paige and Rolf, and I'm like, okay, he would jump on the train for them. That makes a lot more sense, to me, because like Paige said, Walter tends to have this greater good mentality, and sometimes he thinks that he's expendable so long as more people survive. But I think this time, and I hate it when he takes ridiculous risks due to that mentality. But in this time, I can kind of buy it, because it feels to me like, even if he would want it to be that mentality, if he would explain it that way, I think he actually did it because he cares about Paige and Rob, and he can't see them die. So yeah, he would jump on a train for them. I'm actually okay with it. I'm surprised, but I am okay. Just the entire train thing, Rolf taking charge, and actually managing to do things to help the train, like hotwiring Paige's phone onto the PA system and opening that door. Rolf is awesome. They should use him so much more. Same with Paige. Even Walter's risks, I didn't care. The whole thing with Toby at the beginning was hilarious. Oh my god, I laughed so much at all the titles that he had the announcer say, oh my god, that was so much fun. And the fact that he got himself knocked out, and then Sylvester with dipping the sponge into the liquid nitrogen. I'm like, that is such a genius way of actually, instead of just pulling out a pack of frozen anything out of the fridge, no, you have to dunk a sponge in liquid nitrogen. It's so ridiculous, you just have to laugh. And, at the beginning I was kind of annoyed by it, because it feels like it's been, for the last 3 episodes, I've been saying, oh, I'm really happy that Toby's finally, just, deciding to step back from from the happy thing and not push her and whatever, and then the next episode he goes right back into it. So that kind of annoyed me at the beginning, but then with the reveal at the end of what Happy was actually doing, I'm like, they were both doing the same thing, so I don't mind anymore. And I hope that he's going to let things happen organically, like he said, like watch their little sprout grow into a love oak or whatever it was that he said. I hope that he lets it happen organically. That's totally a pun I just realized. But yeah, I'm just really happy that Happy isn't actually dating that dude. By the way, I totally called that. Since like the first episode where Chad was mentioned, I called it. I knew that she wasn't actually dating him, and I knew it had something to do with Toby, because she's totally trying to fill the Toby-sized hole in her heart now that she decided that they weren't going to be together. So either that, or she's trying to like loosen up for him somehow, like, because you want to meet in the middle, and the problem with them was that Toby was like too relaxed and too not taking things seriously. So maybe she wants to be a little bit more that way, and then if Toby kind of becomes a little bit more serious, then they could be together. But whatever the reason is, I totally called it. I'm psychic. I called it, man. I knew that things weren't the way they seemed. The whole thing with Paige and Walter at the end, I would have freaking punched him too. Come on. It's heroic sacrifice and everything, but he could have told her that he was going to come up with another way. Like, he could have just said, there's no unlucky thing on that side, unlucky to unlock the cards. There's none on that side, so I can only do it from this side. But I'm going to find a way. I won't die. If he had said that would have been great. Paige would have probably kissed him after, but no, he had to be all heroic and not explain anything that he was doing, and make it seem like he was willing to die. That's the part that Paige really, really was upset about. So, heck yeah, I understand her. I would have punched him, the jerk. He has to learn that when people care about you, you have to tell them things. You can't just let them be scared for no reason at all. She was already scared. The plan was already risky. He could have told her, hey, don't worry, I'm gonna get out of here. Even if he didn't know if that was 100% true, if that was 100% probability to happen, he should have. And that's the thing, because you just want to comfort someone you love. So yeah, at the same time, I'm sort of, a bit peeved that Cave interrupted them. I don't necessarily ship them as much as I do Happy Toby, but I think they're okay. I think they've been dancing around each other for so long, and every time that Walter takes a step towards being a little less robot and a little more human, I'm in. So if Paige does that to him, I'm all in for that. And then there was Ray. Man, God, I'm not emotional. I'm not an emotional person, so I'm not the type to cry and get misty-eyed with things like movies or books or TV. I'm not a crier, okay? I'm not emotional. I'm more on the cynical side, as I'm sure you've noticed from my reviews. I'm always more on the cynical side, but Ray telling Walter that story, that really got me, man. That really got to me. My eyes went a little bit misty there, because I don't know, Ray's such a great guy, and we don't know that much about him up until this point, but he seems like such a great guy and such a supportive guy. Even if he's not the smartest people, he always tries to help. And just knowing that he's lost someone like that, someone who was so important to him. He was a firefighter. I had no idea he was a firefighter. That completely changes my perspective of him. And just the idea that he lost someone who was so dear to him. I hope that they kind of keep going with that thread, and that eventually he manages to give the medal to the guy's wife. Because now I just really want to see more of Ray's story. because he really seems real now, not like the cartoonish character he seemed at the beginning, like who was just there to make things funny and to be comic relief and stuff. No, he actually does have a purpose, and his purpose is, teaching Walter that he can connect with people, and that he doesn't just have to like tolerate people, which is kind of what Paige is trying to do. Like, okay, give him human feelings of sorts, but at least be polite. That's kind of Paige's thing. But Ray is actually showing him that he can connect with people, even with people who are not all that smart, even with people who have never really been through any of his experiences. So that's good, and I want to know more about Ray. And it's interesting, like, how the episode turned in that point, because at the moment it had all been like either really funny or really like actiony, speed like, and then just that emotional punch kind of hit me out of the blue, and I loved it. I mean, I love Ray. I just wanted to see more of him. And then of course at the end with Happy and the Comedy Club, can I just say, it shows how big a nerd I am that, Sylvester, who was laughing at all of Happy's jokes, that was me. Okay? I was laughing at all of Happy's jokes. I thought she was awesome. So yeah, like Toby's like, oh, she's the worst comedian in the world. No, she's not. She's hilarious. So yeah, that just goes to show how big of a nerd I am. Because seriously, I was Sylvester in that scene. That was totally me. And just overall, it was just such a great episode. I really, really loved it. And I think this one's gonna stick in my head for a while. Like, whenever I think of Scorpion, I'm gonna think back to this episode and be like, man, the show can really be great sometimes when they set their mind to it. So, yeah, I mean, the episode had everything. It had actually relatively accurate science. It was hilarious. It had tons of action. It had female empowerment. I mean, can we talk about... I know I already went off about Paige, but can we talk about Happy? Dude, that save was amazing. I mean, she basically just ran right under a train in motion at 90 miles per hour. Like, dude. Happy should have, like, her own superhero show. She's amazing. So, like, tons of female empowerment. They actually brought in Ralph and gave him an actual plot, which was amazing. Romance worked for the most part. Like, it was really not annoying at all. It was very touching in a way. And then Ray's subplot, which was so emotional. This episode really had a little bit of everything, and if the show can keep churning out episodes like this, it just reminds me of what it was that I first loved about this show. Like, all of it. It can be a great show if it starts, like, doing this more often. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. As always, you can find more Scorpion reviews over at our website, thegeekypub.com. You can also find other reviews for other TV shows, books, movies. We have a bunch of stuff there, so be sure to visit and check it out. And I will see you guys in my next review. So, bye!